Ayo! Welcome to episode 18 of Create This Book 3 by Mariah Elizabeth and Ashleigh Monet. All that will be me. Halloween edition! If you're new around here, let me tell you that I love Halloween. I love all things spooky. And last year I made a super duper sized Halloween episode, which was so much fun, so let's do it again. How many prompts will we tackle? I just don't know. We'll just see where the wind blows us, but I will say I know it's going to be a lot of work, so enough of me talking. Let's jump right in and see what I can create. Alrighty, first prompt, we have create buttons. Draw buttons on this page and give them interesting functions. Now, based on the page and prompt doodle, it definitely seems the type of button you push is what I'm supposed to draw. But I don't wanna. So let's cover this up, pretend it doesn't exist, and hear the prompt again. Draw buttons on this page and give them interesting functions. Okay, now for my drawing. I want to draw actual buttons, like sewing buttons, all over the page. Buttons are so fun to draw, I could not resist the opportunity to turn the prompt in this direction. But now I have to give them interesting functions. My favorite function for these type of buttons is as eyes on dolls and plushies. And who better to draw with button eyes than my very own Voodoo Victor? I will say he got a little bit of a makeover. The classic Victor has pencils jammed in his head, but for the sake of this drawing, I wanted him to be a more traditional voodoo doll. So instead I went with a few little pins. And then it was a matter of giving him all of the fun little voodoo doll details. Some stitching, his button eyes, even more stitching. And you'll notice he has an extra button in his little hand. Well, he is very sweetly offering up a button to a friend. I present to you Voodoo Victor's Lady Love, Voodoo Valerie. You see, Valerie was just added to the Witch Doctor's Voodoo doll collection, but she's not yet finished. She's short one button eye. How nice of Victor to step in and try to complete her. But of course he would. Those are the things we do for the ones we love. I thought the idea of giving Victor a little companion was so fun. I swear though, when I did the sketch, I thought they were pretty much the same size, but I look at it now and Valerie is definitely bigger than Victor. That's cool though. Maybe Victor likes a lady with a little extra junk in her trunk or stuffing in her seams. Time to give these two some color. I was in a watercolor mood, so that's what we went with. Of course, I made Victor his classic green, but I really debated over what color to make Valerie. Then I thought to myself, these two are kind of giving me similar vibes to the Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein that I just did with my squishies. And I loved the color combination I chose for them. So you know what? Blue it is, Valerie. I used those same colors for the buttons in the background, just kind of swapped them so the green is on Valerie's page and the blue is on Victor's. And then I used a little pink for Valerie's bow. And their two little hearts, happy as one. Then I switched mediums over because I wanted to make sure that the eye buttons were nice and bold, but I can never get my black watercolor to be like super dark and saturated. So it was markers to the rescue. I also decided that markers would be nice to color the voodoo dolls' dark patches that they have. And hey, why not add a few shadows too? Now to just add a few juicy highlights and we can glue these lovebirds into the book. So much fun. I love bringing back my Voodoo Victor. I love Voodoo Valerie. We are off to a good start, but now it's on to the next prompt. Create excess. Draw way too much of something. Now this is one that I will take inspiration from the prompt doodle on. Look at all of those kittens. I think I shall create an excess of kittens. Because are there ever too many cats? I think not. So for this page, I just wanted to have layers and layers and rows of cats. I was using markers which were not the most ideal medium for this piece. They were very streaky and for whatever reason the tones were all over the place even though I used markers from the same hue family. Like these were all cool gray colors. I don't know. But this was a surprising amount of work and even more so than what you see because in some poetic irony, I actually had to create an excess of my excess. What do you mean? Well, I actually started this prompt using watercolor because I knew that would layer perfectly and the tone would be consistent throughout. One itty bitty problem though, my standard run of the mill printer paper holds up fine to watercolor, but only one layer of it. As I added more and more cats, the paper became so wet and overworked that the paint was feathering out far too much. The paper was dramatically warping. It was just no. I had to scrap that attempt. Now, sure, I could have upgraded to watercolor paper like so many of you tell me to do all the time, and I probably would have pulled this off easily. But I'm so against adding bulk to the books. I said no, we're sticking with my cheap paper and we'll switch over to marker. So here we are, struggling. What can I say? I can only blame myself and my stubborn nature. Anyways, the finished piece is going to be a zipper opening up to reveal this horde of cats. I wasn't sure what color, if any, to paint whatever this is that's being unzipped, but I said, you know what, stop overthinking it. It's Halloween, do orange. Don't know if I would do orange again if I had the opportunity, but you know what, it's done. We are moving on. I wanted to try and add some consistency to the cats. Again, I thought that the tones were really off, so I painted a light wash of black watercolor over the cats, and I do think that helped. I liked what that did to it. Once everything dried, I used a little black alcohol marker to block in the zipper. Then using my favorite dazzling silver metallic Artex brush marker really made it pop. Ooh, ah. Nothing like a good metallic moment. I'm like a little raccoon. I just love shiny things. Anyways, my last step was using the trusty Juicy highlight pen to give all of these cats some haunted glowing eyes. And of course, highlight the zipper here and there. That's done. Now let's add it to the book. This one was a simple concept, yet surprisingly took a lot of time and effort. I'd say we created excess, and it was in fact too much. I'm over it. On to the next. Create an app. Come up with an app that millions of people would want to download onto their phones. Give it a name, draw its icon, and describe what it does. I wasn't stoked on this prompt in general, but trying to have it follow a Halloween theme further limited my ideas. The best I could scrounge up from my brain basement was an app where you could track which houses in your neighborhood would be giving out the best candy, so you would know what houses to hit on your trick-or-treating route. You know, we want the full-size candy bars here. Now, I don't know the particulars of the app, like is the data provided by the candy peddlers or the trick-or-treaters? Because there's flaws with both options. If the trick-or-treaters have to report, then the first batch of them won't benefit from the app at all. They're just providing the information for the other trick-or-treaters to use later. But if the ones that hand out candy are reporting what they're handing out, it would be easy enough for the creeps and pervs to say they have the best candies just to get more kids to show up at their door. Ugh. I don't know, maybe we could have a system like Uber where the trick-or-treaters can rate the house poorly if the person is giving weird vibes so no one else goes there. I don't know, the idea is still in beta phase, okay? Let's just, for the sake of the page, pretend it's a magical, all-seeing app that just knows all of the information that we need, okay? Don't ask questions. Anyways, the app needs an icon. I didn't go crazy with it because most app icons are incredibly simple in design. So I just did a little pumpkin trick-or-treat bucket overflowing with yummy candy. Now let's finish getting it colored. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let me around the corners here and then we can glue it into the book. Now we need all of my app info, the name, description, and whatnot. So I photoshopped this little screen grab of the app page. This app is called
Trick for Treats,
and of course has a perfect 5-star rating. Rated T for teen, available on the Android and iOS. Glue that in. And another page done. Nothing super special. Again, this prompt was kind of blah, but let's just keep moving here. Create awe. Draw someone or something magnificent. Fair warning, this will be the one prompt today that doesn't follow the spooky Halloween-y theme. I mentioned a while back when I did that Prince page that I have a prompt planned to honor each of the amazing musicians that my cats are named for. Well, this is the one I had decided would be used to immortalize Presley's namesake, the late great Elvis Presley. I'm a big fan of Elvis, obviously. I think as a musician, he was incredible and wrote some of my favorite songs of all time. But even as a person, he seemed pretty top-notch and, well, really brave. Imagine the lone white kid growing up in a ghetto, befriending those from a different race well before that was socially acceptable, taking a style of music and dance he picked up from the streets and bringing it to the mainstream despite endless pushback and threats, like to his personal safety. He was unapologetically not the status quo, and I think that takes guts. And at the height of his career, he dropped everything to fulfill his civic duties and serve his country. So wild. I mean, that would be like Taylor Swift getting drafted right now. Can you imagine? And my gosh, that face. He was an angel. Unfortunately, I think Elvis will always be a cautionary tale of how nobody can have that level of fame without it destroying you. And his downward spiral was extreme and remains unlike any other. From, let's see, a failing career, a ruined marriage, drug abuse, and eventually death on a toilet, like his demise was unfitting. But me personally, I'd like to remember him fondly, the way he was in the beginning, so that's what I went with for this portrait. And now for the other side, I want to include some sheet music to my favorite Elvis song, and quite honestly, probably my favorite love song of all time, Can't Help Falling in Love. I want the page to have a classic vibe, so I'm doing a tannish brown wash over the pages for that kind of tea-stained, aged look. Now we glue them in. Ooh, I love this. I think it is a perfect ode to the legend that gave my sweet Presley his name. R.I.P. Elvis Presley, you will forever be a legend, forever be awe-inspiring, someone truly magnificent. Okay, next prompt. Create cracks. Draw with jagged lines all over this page. My first inclination, because it's something I've always wanted to try, was to make the page itself look like broken glass. I thought it would be easy enough because I found a reference of broken glass in front of a black background, and it literally is only those two colors, black and white. So I started with my signature Ashleigh Monet black background, and then I went ahead and painted the cracks using my Juicy highlight pen, which I still get so many questions about. No matter how many times I've linked it in certain videos, people still ask what I use. So you know what? I'm going to start forever linking it in the description, along with whatever art supplies I use in that video. Hopefully that'll clear it up, because it's just a simple Amazon no-name brand, but man, it works well. But yeah, this page was pretty simple. I just drew the outline of where the glass was broken out, and then added the cracks stemming from the center. Gotta add a few random jagged lines because broken glass isn't perfect, but voila! Pretty cool, pretty simple. I like simple. But thinking of something to go along with the cracked glass, I decided to draw a cracked porcelain doll. Now, I've always found porcelain dolls to be creepy. I know some people think they're beautiful. They love collecting them. That is not me. And so I'm really going to try and up the creep factor on my porcelain doll. She's got to have black lips, those dark, empty eye sockets. And I really fought myself over what color to make her hair. Like, I feel like I always want to default to red for creepy little girls. But been there, done that, let's step out of the box, at least for a little bit. How about blonde? Like those creepy little Freddy Krueger girls.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
I want to give her a little buffalo plaid or gingham dress. I've said before that that's like my favorite print for fabric. It is so satisfying to draw and to paint. And we're going to make it black, of course, to show that perhaps this sweet little doll is anything but innocent and childlike. Also, the dress has got to be real dirty and dingy. Like, she's been through some stuff. She's an old one, after all. Probably passed down over the last several decades as each home came to realize there was something ominous, something evil within this pretty little porcelain doll. Now, she is cracked, so maybe her last child tried to smash her to destroy the evil that's contained within. Did it work, or has that child met with the same twisted end as the many generations of children that have come across this doll before? Dun dun dun. Okay, let's finish her off with a few juicy highlights to capture that porcelain shine, cut her out, and glue her into the book. This is my kind of prompt. It was vague enough to give a lot of options, but specific enough to inspire ideas. I loved going a bit darker with this one too, like my black little heart is quite content right now. Next, we have create a fruit doll. Draw or attach eyes, a nose, ears, and a mouth to a fruit or vegetable. Add as many other details as you can think of. No lie, I originally thought this prompt was pretty lame. In my initial flip through, I had no ideas for it except, I don't know what, like a Mr. Potato Head? Was not excited, but having this prompt coincide with Halloween worked out so great because I was able to make my doll a little pumpkin. Aww. I definitely went with a more cutesy, cartoony style for the pumpkin. I gave her some big glossy eyes, and those are important because they will be the only things showing, because I decided I would make this page inspired by paper dolls. Now, I might be aging myself with that reference, but I loved paper dolls as a kid. For those unfamiliar, you would have a doll cut out, made from like cardstock, and then the doll would have a ton of outfits made of paper that you could switch the outfits out, and I don't know, it was the funnest thing. I swear the things that entertained us as kids. Kids today would never. Now, this was another reason, though, that the timing of this prompt was perfect, because if I'm going to have my doll switching outfits, they're gonna be Halloween costumes. It's brilliant. So let's start these costumes. First, Frankenstein's monster. Man, I am digging the Frankenstein theme all over the place this week. Love it, love it, love it. Next, I wanted to do a spooky little sheet ghost, also seeing a few of those on my channel lately. But now how about a vampire? And not just any vampire. Dracula. Yes. Okay, let's do one more. I like even numbers. I wanted to do a little mummy, all wrapped up, super cute. All right, let's glue the pumpkin in the book first. And I laminated all of the costumes, so now you can see what she looks like wearing each. Aww, cute. Okay, this one's my favorite, I think. Now let me just make a little pocket to store these. And there we go. I love this page. It's fun, it's interactive, it's Halloween-y. I gotta say, for being a prompt that I was not super stoked on, this definitely ended up being one of my favorites in the episode. And now for the last prompt. Create completion. Think of something you've been meaning to finish for a long time. Go do it right now. I knew exactly what I wanted to do for this one. Some of you may remember in a previous video, I did a little either or challenge where I came up with a character by randomly picking cards with certain characteristics. It was super fun and I love the merman I made, but I wept a little for the options I didn't choose. And it turns out, so did many of you that watched. You guys kept saying, you gotta make one using the cards that you didn't use. So hey, we're gonna complete the cards challenge today. And that means I'm gonna be drawing a witch who's a girl. She will be evil and have short hair. I'll draw her with a magical object and I will be using warm colors. I'm so excited to finish this one out, and again, it just so happens to work great for Halloween. So for the witch I drew, I gave her a cute little wavy bob haircut. I rarely draw girls with short hair. I think that's just because of my own personal preference being long hair, but that's honestly just on myself. Like, I adore short hair on others. I really wish I could pull it off, but I just have one of those faces. Long hair suits me better. She needs kind of a spicy face, you know, the type that looks like she's capable of something sinister. This girl's not innocent. I'm gonna have her casting dark magic out of her left hand there. Meanwhile, her right hand is going to be holding her magical object, which is a spell book. I had a lot of options for a magical object to accompany a witch. I could have done a cauldron, a potion, a broomstick, a wand, but I just love a classic spell book. And since this one is evil, I had to make it look like the legendary book from Hocus Pocus. Book. I will say though, I got cocky and I didn't use a reference. I just tried to draw it from memory and it is a tad bit off. Now I'll deck her out in some fancy jewels. I so wish I could rock hella jewelry. I've tried unsuccessfully. I just have those hands where less is more. It's funny, I was just having a talk with Cody the other day that my hands are like one of my biggest insecurities. So the fact that I'm making art on YouTube and essentially making a living as a glorified hand model is kind of ironic and funny. Anyways, going in with a little fine line detail now. One thing I definitely wanted was for my evil witch to be wearing one of those mesh tops you can layer with a black dress. Oh, I love that look. And that brings us to the coloring. And again, warm colors are the name of the game. Loving this fiery little witch, but for this one, I'm going to take it a step further and go through with colored pencils to really make it all pop. And you know I wasn't going to forget this episode. It's juicy highlight time. All right, I got to do a little more. Let me darken that mesh top and throw in some metallic gel pen. Now, I normally choose silver for jewelry, but if we want warmth here, it's got to be gold. Oh, I love that. A few last minute juicy highlights on the gold and we're done. Now let me glue her into the book. And some scraps from the cards that led us here. Ugh, I love her, and I don't know about you, but I feel a deep level of satisfaction knowing we completed the other side of this card challenge. No more unfinished business. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the video. 7 long prompts. Now let's recap. We created buttons and gave them the function of eyes, with Voodoo Victor giving his new love, Voodoo Valerie, her missing eye. Aww. We created excess, an excess of cats just pouring out as the page unzips. There were too many cats I had to paint, one too many times, and by the end, I was done. We created an app. This app guides you to the candy hot spots while trick-or-treating. We created awe with one of the most magnificent musicians I know of, Elvis. We created cracks with the broken glass background and this haunting cracked porcelain doll. Ooh, so creepy. We created a fruit doll with this sweet little pumpkin girl and all of her fun little Halloween costumes. And lastly, we created completion, drawing this evil little witch from the forgotten card prompts of the past. Whew! Now that was a lot of work. Okay, I don't know about you guys. I had a great time with all of the spooky, but I am exhausted. So I'm gonna go. I want to wish you all a very happy spooky season. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.